Welcome back to CFB Nation. I am the co-host of this lovely show, Garnet Roost, with my man, all Gamecocks football. He knows all the knowledge. Deep fried draft himself, Brian Bosarge. How we doing, bud?
Nino, I'm doing great, man. Wish we could have played the second half like we did the first half
Yes.
last week, but all in all, I mean, I'm fairly positive after that game last week. A little bit coming into this week. Had George on the ropes for 31 minutes anyway.
Yeah.
So, and then second half just wasn't great.
I'm gonna get it out of the way now. Before we jump right into it, I know you. You were gonna mention it. I jinxed it. Right? It was me. It was my fault.
Not your fault.
I made that comment. Then Stackhouse got that big sack, and I was like, oh man, I had to do it.
No, it was. I mean, he was due, right?
I guess, yeah. Right.
So, he was bound to get one eventually.
Yeah, exactly. Sooner or later, he was going to get it. But this is the Garnet Roost. This is episode 3, and just again, if you're new to the show, Brian, tell them what we're all about.
It's just weekly. We're going to talk about the Gamecocks each and every week. What happened the week before? What's coming up in the next week? What's going on outside of the program, recruiting wise. I mean, we are aiming to be the premier South Carolina Gamecocks football podcast.
That's right. We're going for the number 1 spot. I'm going to hit you like we do every week with that rapid fire question. So let's get it started.
Let's go.
Level of heat on OC Dowell Loggins right now, 1 to 10.
I mean, it's low heat, right? It's in that 2 to 3 range. I mean, it's still early. I mean, let's be honest. The passing game is on fire.
Yes.
As far as yardage wise and everything going through the first 3 games, I think they're well above. Now the running game is, and we're going to talk more about that again. I feel like we're beating that horse is already dead. I think we've beat it already to death. But the running game is abysmal. But I don't know how much of that is scheme and how much it is lack of talent.
I'm gonna say a 5 only because the run game is anemic and I there's no adjustment. It kills me. But we'll talk about it soon.
I mean, it's not any worse than what it would have been if Marcus Satterfield had stayed and he would still be here because Nebraska's offense is worse than South Carolina's is.
Yeah, there's no pass game.
I mean, that to me, just him leaving was addition by subtraction.
Yeah, all right. So, I'll give. Yeah,
I wasn't the biggest fan of Dowell Logan's hire at all. Don't get me wrong. I wish they would have ponied up the cash to bring in the TCU guy who's at Clemson now.
Garrett Riley.
I wish they would have ponied the cash up to him because I can tell you what, Shane Beamer would have let him cook. Unlike Dabo over there. So, I wish they would have done that, but they didn't. So
I'm with you. That would have been something special, especially with what you got there. Over under 700 rushing yards on the season.
Total?
Yes.
They'll go over, but I don't know by how much.
All right.
I mean, what are they? What are they at right now through 3 games?
I think it's like two something, like 2
they have
low
that
2s.
Many? That doesn't sound right.
I want to say, so you have 75-21, right? 41, 17, 14. It's like 190 something. It's close to 200.
Okay.
Yeah.
They'll go over then.
But yeah, by Bailey, maybe like 25 yards. If they don't change, they gotta somehow they gotta find an identity there, right? They have to, right? You would think. I don't know. Oh my God, it's gross. But current MVP right now.
It's Rattler with Leggett close.
Okay. Last one. Over under 2 conference wins.
Over.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
They're going to win this week. Well, I'm not going to spoil the end of the show. They're going to win this week. And so that's 1. Vanderbilt is 2, and they'll get 2 more. They'll get 4.
Okay, all right. But we're going to put that in the bank. We'll revisit that when we get closer to the end of the year. But what we do is we talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly on the Garnet Roost. And let's talk about the good right off the rip.
Let's talk about some of the emergence of these young guys who some of them are having to play out of necessity. And maybe not necessarily out of necessity, but just he's probably practiced well and forced his way on the field. TJ Sanders wasn't much of a contributor the last 2 years, but he just exploded on the scene, and he was involved in several plays for the first 5 or 6 Georgia drives where he had 9, as an interior defensive lineman, had 9 tackles, 8 solo tackles, 2 of them for loss, had a sack, had a pass deflection. TJ Sanders, he was the SEC Defensive Lineman of the Week this week.
Yeah.
He really emerged. And I want to give a shout out to true freshman Tree Babalude. Tree is not his given name. But that is, he's built like a tree, for sure. And while the whole offensive line's run grades, I believe, were subpar, as you know, is to be expected when you have 5 rushing yards. He looked good in pass pro. It didn't really look like he only maybe got beat once during the game. You've got here in our notes 89.8 PFF grade in pass protection. That's pretty good for a true freshman who's never played it, who had only played mop up duty against Furman, to come in against that Georgia defense and stand tall for all but one pass set.
Yeah. He looked good
with as many times as they threw the ball as well.
Yeah, so, exactly. Knowing that they were one-dimensional.
Only give up I think he got charged with 1 pressure.
Yes.
During the game. So I mean that's outstanding for a true freshman, and I think he's probably going to get a start again this week if I had to guess.
I would hope so with the production he had, especially against Georgia. I think that would earn him another shot. We talked about it last week. The youth movement, it's a good youth movement. It's going in the right direction, and they're performing. These guys are doing their thing. Let's talk about the bad.
I tweeted out a few times during the game. I was like, is the old Rattler back? And you know what? And after some deep thoughts and reflection, I think it was just him trying to make plays.
Yeah.
As much as I don't think it was necessarily old habits forming.
Correct.
Because of the timing of the 2 interceptions late in the game. I mean, they were both in the fourth quarter. And they were, I don't want to call them desperation heaves, but that's kind of what they really were. As much as it was bad. I mean, they were bad fundamental throws, don't get me wrong, but I don't necessarily, if you looked at the rest of the game, he really didn't make many what I'd call bad throws.
Right.
So I don't think the old Rattler is back. Now, if he's making those kind of throws in the first quarter of the game against Mississippi State, then I'm going to be like, okay. Yeah. Let's settle him back down, get him back to where he was, because it's creeped back in. But is it one-dimensional? Because the offense is so one-dimensional, that's part of it. Yeah. And I tweeted out late in the game, let's go ahead and get to the ugly here.
the ugly is what is the ugly? Tell me, please.
The run game is just it's horrid. It's completely horrid. South Carolina is 1-2 right now because they can't run the football. I 100% believe that because they got completely one-dimensional against North Carolina, completely one-dimensional against Georgia in the second half. They have no ability to run the ball to open up the offense. So Georgia started basically playing cover 2, shell defense the entire second half. They couldn't move the football. So that's kind of where I'm at. South Carolina OG Mike Davis, their running back, tweeted out during the game, hey, maybe we ought to give this Anderson a few more tries. Mario Anderson, 2 carries, 6 yards a lick against Georgia.
I don't get it.
We both. You
8
love
runs?
DK Joyner. I love what
Yeah.
DK Joyner's brought to the program. He's not a true running back.
No.
Let's give Mario Anderson more carries this week against Mississippi State and see if he can be that number 1 running back because Juju, he may have been hurt Saturday.
Yeah.
He did. He had 0 touches.
Yeah.
on
Yeah. I don't
offense.
know what's going
So
on.
Juju might have been hurt.
But they only had 8 designed run snaps. There was 16 total runs.
Rattler was the leading rusher.
Again,
None of that was designed.
No, exactly. That can't happen. And that is why I say I have, they'll see at a 5 because there's no adjustment. This is back-to-back weeks where you didn't adjust to the run game. Like, you know what I mean? Come on. You're getting your QB out there. He's getting dialed up. Like, they're in the balloon coverage, and they're sending the guys, and there's nothing they can do because in the end, these old linemen can only block for so long, right? Like, they're taking on 4- and 5-star guys coming down their neck for 2.5 quarters and nonstop. It's
and
gross.
You couldn't sustain any drives in the second half. How many plays I
Punt,
would love to know the
punt,
number of
turnover on downs, right?
yeah. I would love to know the number of plays they ran in the second half. I mean, it had to be 20 in the 20s, I would think.
Low. I want to say low. I know the first 2 drives out.
With 3 and outs. Yeah.
With 3 and outs, right? Then they had the turnover on downs, right? Then it was pick. So the last 5 possessions were absolutely gross. Yeah. I think it was like 22 total.
Yeah, in the
plays.
second half. And what did Georgia do on the flip side?
Score.
Just grinded it down their throat and scored.
Yep.
The defense was completely gassed.
Mm-hmm.
It almost reminded me of the Gator Bowl last year when they only had like 11 defenders made the trip, I think. And Notre Dame at the end of the game just ran the ball, and
they couldn't
there
do
was
it.
nothing
It was
you
smoked.
could do.
Yeah,
and that's kind of what Georgia did to the end of the game to put it away. So yeah, you've got to be able to run the football to give the offense. I sound like an old guy getting off my lawn here. You got to run the football.
But 8. Come on, 8.
Yeah.
15 times. I'm cool, but 8. It's like you're not even trying. You just said, okay, it's not working. I'm just not doing any of it. So you got to at least keep the defense honest.
Yeah.
Like you said, they were in balloon coverage and cover 2 the whole rest of the second half.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's talk about our guy here. He was in there minimal, scored that first touchdown. But what's up with Juice Wells?
He's got a broken bone in his foot. He broke it before the season started, which was good on them for keeping that a secret because they kept saying that he's going to play, and then he didn't play. He played a little bit this week. He didn't play this week. He's good this week, and he plays one drive, and I guess it broke again. He had a screw holding the foot together, which isn't ideal, I guess. And
no.
They said Shane Beamer said he doesn't think it's season ending. I don't know about that.
Yeah.
Anytime you're dealing with a broken bone in a foot, I don't know how effective he's going to be. Maybe he's good by the last couple of weeks of the season. I don't know.
Bowl something, yeah.
Or maybe he doesn't play again the rest of the year. I don't know. It could be he would be eligible to come back again next season. So
3 games so far, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know if that's something he's interested in or not, if he just wants to go ahead and go to the NFL. I mean, but he showed on that catch and run. Was it third and 16?
Yeah.
And he caught a pass at the line of scrimmage and just went straight through the Georgia defense like butter, man.
Yeah.
Hot knife through butter and just went right on through and scored. So that shows you right there the explosiveness that he brings as a wide receiver, and they're going to miss him. Fortunately, another receiver emerged this week.
Yeah,
tremendous route runner, Omega Blake. What a great name!
Omega Blake. Omega
emerged this week, and he I don't think he's the fastest. I'd say he's probably a 4.6, low 4.6 wide receiver, but he's a tremendous route runner. Got open, soft hands. He put up his career high in receiving yardage this week. Leggett, he showed it. He's legit.
Yeah,
and he was able to get down the field, beat Georgia down the field. Yeah. He's legit as a wide receiver and as a prospect at the wide receiver position. So now you've got two. If Eddie Lewis, he had a
He had
drop.
one
or
big
so.
catch, but he had a
one
drop.
big had one big catch, but did have a drop.
Yeah,
and they're going to need all, because that might be all they have. And Luke Doty might be all they have at wide receiver this week against Mississippi State, because Amarian Brown also probably not going to play this week. Didn't play last week. Probably not going to play. He's listed as questionable. At this point, I have discovered if South Carolina lists you as questionable, you're not going to play.
You're not playing.
This isn't the NFL where there's a chance that's pretty much, because I've seen code as we're not going to play. Couple edge guys, Tyreek Johnson and JT Gear, not going to play. Gear hasn't, or they're listed as questionable. Gear hasn't played all season after transferring over from Syracuse, so it is what it is. I mean, injuries are getting the
piling up heavy.
But Nick Aminawari did get to play last week. He played well.
Yeah.
So that gives them, with your guy Kilgore and DQ Smith, they've got their safeties are really good. It's probably some of the best in the SEC. I would say top to bottom there. 1, 2, 3.
I like him there. Can I talk to you about a guy that I feel like got picked on? Fortune. Like why did he? I mean, he was targeted 7 times, 5 receptions, right? It was like, I think it was under 50 yards. He had a missed tackle rate of 25, but they just kept, like, it seemed like they just kept going to him. And I think he was on 4 different receivers. They all had receptions.
I saw it coming because Marcellus Dial is their number 1 corner.
Yes,
he's been really good.
Yes,
he got beat on one route. I will give O'Donnell Fortune credit. He did make a great play on a deep post down the field. Had a good breakup on that. But, yeah, you're right. He was picked on. But they have no depth there either, with David Spalding being banged up.
Yeah.
So, and the other guys are all freshmen that are having to play. So, yeah, it stands to reason he's going to get picked on. But let me say this. He's getting seasoned.
Yes, he is. Yes.
Because last year we saw the same situation with Cam Smith. Teams were throwing at Darius Rush.
Right.
Darius Rush ended up developing into a draftable prospect.
Yeah.
So, for O'Donnell Fortune, he's getting that season. It's like a cast iron skillet, man. You got to season it, for a few months to get it good and right.
Yeah.
And, by the end of the season, he'll be battle tested and he'll be,
could come up big when you need him.
Right.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned the injuries to the wide receiver room, and we're talking freshmen stepping up on the defensive side, right? And Pup Howard and Kilgore. Is it time that we take the training wheels off Nicholas Harbor? I think he had another, 7 snaps total, most of them special teams?
Yeah, all special team snaps. No offensive snaps for Harbor this week.
We need something.
I agree,
Spark.
But they seem to be competent, and they really utilize the tight ends well against Georgia in the game plan.
Yeah, Knox was great.
He's got his hands are becoming a bit of an issue for me, but he got himself open, and you can see how much of a weapon he is with the ball in his hands. So you like that. Same with Joshua Simon, the Western Kentucky transfer over.
Yep.
So you like what you see there from those two tight end. That kind of offsets that 4th wide receiver deal where I think you would ideally want to bring up Harbor. But yeah, at some point you're right. They're going to have to let's let him loose.
Yeah, just try him out. Let him. Yeah.
Because, no offense, but I don't think South Carolina is going to make the college football playoff this year, Nino. I don't think I'm telling tales out of school here, man. So, right. At some point, let's get these guys
wet.
Get them going.
Yeah.
The schedule is not easy the next 4 weeks.
But like you said, battle test these guys, man. If you want to be somewhere at the end, you don't want them getting it then, right? You want them to get a reps in.
Mississippi State's, I think, got some really good defensive players. We'll talk a little bit more about that later, but you're going to play them this week. You're going to play Tennessee the next week. Then you're playing Florida the week after that. This is a stretch that's going to define where your season goes. Are you going to be playing? Are you going to be playing in the Outback or the Citrus Bowl, or are you going to be playing or hoping you get to play in Birmingham?
Yeah,
that's kind of where your season's going here over the next 3 weeks.
You could get
So
lucky against Tennessee because the buzz is you might be seeing the freshman if he don't get it done this week. If Joey
I don't.
looks
You don't know how to pronounce his name either, do you?
Nico, I am a lever.
I'm proud of you.
Yeah,
I
that's
didn't
my
know
guy.
that.
That's the only reason why
I
I've been
didn't
on
know
the
that.
train. I've been on. He's my guy out of that class, so I've been on it for a little bit.
So I'm
But
going to need another week of Joe Milton at least. So let's keep him through next week, and then they can turn the freshman loose after that. Let me see Joe Milton next week.
all right. Let's talk some recruiting. I think we South Carolina got a guy that's doing well. You know what I'm saying? He climbing the boards here. So talk to us about him.
Yeah, On3 updated their rankings, and they gave their offensive tackle commitment. I think he's an in-state guy from Dillon, South Carolina. Josiah Thompson goes from a 4 to a 5-star, moves up to the number 9 overall player in the class of 2024 per On3. So yeah, now South Carolina has 2 5-star commitments, pairing him with edge rusher Dylan Stewart, who's the number 12 overall prospect. In this class. So now South Carolina and Shane Beamer, they have the number 9 and 12 overall players per On3 in the class of 2024.
Listen, I'm going to tell you right now, the ranking on Stewart is an injustice. He needs to be higher. He is a dude.
Come on.
I'm telling you, he's going to prove when he shows up, just like I told you about Lenoris, you're going to say, all right, you got my attention because this kid can be just as good as Stone, all right? And Stone is what 2 or 3 in the class, so I just think he's got just as much athleticism and juice in the tank there. I think we're going to see something special next year.
So with the change in Thompson's ranking, South Carolina now moves up to 19 overall in the class of 2024. The bad part about that, Nino, is that's good. 19th in the nation. That's great.
Right.
That's 10th in the SEC. They're just ahead of Arkansas, who is 20th overall. So the SEC has 11 of the top 20 recruits. And by the way, for the record, that's not counting Texas and Oklahoma. I guess we should count those. So
where would we be then? Right? Like,
yeah, because both of those are ahead of South Carolina. So
exactly.
It's not great. It's not great.
Yeah.
And that's always been my problem with recruiting and everything at South Carolina is even the years they have a top 10 recruiting class, which has happened, it's 4th or 5th in the SEC. How do you get better?
Recruiting in the portal. That's it.
That's the only way they're going to do it. But you have to keep your guys.
Yeah. Yes.
And that has it.
Yeah, it didn't work out this year.
It didn't work out this year.
Both of those guys.
Birch,
yeah.
You know. So.
They need to keep guys in house and add, not subtract.
But yeah, and by all intents and purposes, their quarterback commit in this class, Dante Reno, has looked good so far in this high school season.
All right. Well, that'd be nice to get back-to-back guys come in and in the QB spot and not have to go to the portal for that. Might have to go to the portal for other things, offensive linemen, but we'll see. But let's talk about this game coming up, Mississippi State. I got some questions for you, but talk to me about Mississippi State and what you think here.
Well, this is a different Mississippi State than we've seen in the last few years.
Yes.
With the passing of Mike Leach, I think we all love Mike Leach as a coach.
Great guy.
With Arnett replacing him as defensive coordinator, they're not air raid anymore.
Yeah.
They've scrapped that. They're coming to this game 2-1. They've got a win over FCS Southeast Louisiana, and they won in overtime against Arizona, but they got smoked last week by LSU. And what LSU did last week lines up with what South Carolina's been doing offensively these first 3 games. Jaden Daniels, almost 430 yards total offense last week, 4 touchdowns. Malik Neighbors, 13 catches for 239 and 2 touchdowns last week. LSU's defense sacked Will Rogers 4 times. Mississippi State is more of a running team now. And Woody Marks has emerged as that guy. 6.4 yards a carry in the first 3 games, 325 yards. He's got 3 touchdowns. He's also their second leading receiver. He's got 9 catches for 90 yards. But Will Rogers, who was a completion machine in the air raid, he has dropped off the cliff here, only completing 59.5% of his passes through 3 games, 492 yards in 3 games. Last week, 11 of 28 for 103 against LSU, less than 40%. But they do got a good linebacker edge guy, Jet Johnson. He leads the team in tackles for losses and sacks. But I do find it interesting that their corner, Camarion Richardson, leads the team in solo tackles. What does that say if your corner is leading your team in solo tackles?
A lot of catches.
Yeah. That's not ideal.
No. I
feel like this matches up well for South Carolina this week.
Oh, 100%. South Carolina averages 357 yards of passing offense a game, because there is no run game, so it's passing pretty much the whole thing. I gotta ask, okay? Now, when I was down the Senior Bowl, I was mingling, making connections. I spoke to a woman who covers Mississippi State and the Tennessee Titans, and she said to me, she's like, I don't know what's going on for some reason, there's a buzz that they're not in on Will Rogers anymore. And I remembered that they brought Mike Wright in, right? Now, I'm not saying Mike Wright is anything special, but it was just odd to me for a kid who was almost 70% completion on his career in college to just bring someone in and bring the battle, And now he just looks like a ghost of himself. I know they're a more run-style team, but 40%, less than 40% against LSU, and under 60% on the year. It just seems like, was there something that they saw the last 2 games of the season, like that they, you know what I mean? Or it was just total different scheme change, and he don't fit the agenda.
Mike Leach personally recruited Will Rogers to run the air raid offense. Will Rogers is an air raid quarterback. This isn't an air raid offense anymore. He's completely lost. Yeah,
it's killing. It's gonna kill him too. Like he's gonna fall off.
Crystal ball here, Will Rogers, he probably should have portaled out this season. He's going to portal out to an air raid team. He might end up as Texas State's quarterback next year.
Woo! Now they got Malik, bro. They got Malik. They got 2 QBs who resurgence,
Or someone of that ilk, right? Someone from the air raid tree is going to bring him in, and he's going to light it up next year and get back on the NFL radar. I like Mike Wright, by the way. I thought he was solid at Vandy.
Yeah, Vandy was just a bad program, and he just happened to be the.
If Mike Wright was to take over,
it fits the scheme.
I think it fits the scheme they want to run here.
Yeah.
So let's wait till next week.
Don't do this.
Don't do that this week. But yeah, I'm with you. I don't think there's anything wrong physically with Will Rogers. I'll say that. I think it's more mentally at this point. Scheme has been his issue through 3 games so far. He's a square peg in a round hole.
Absolutely. All right, I'm with you. It seems like he's just totally out of character, right? Like he's just out there lost. Give me should win. We're gonna get the prediction soon, but give me 2 keys, one offensively, one defensively, to this game for South Carolina to have success.
Defensively, I think you've got to keep the pressure on up the middle, making plays in the backfield, force them into long downs. Okay. I don't think they have, I'm saying this and it could emerge, but I don't think they have that go-to receiver that's going to, like if you're in 3rd and 8, 3rd and 12, who is their go-to receiver that's going to make that play? Georgia had that with Brock Bowers, or Jack Saint, Rosemary Jackson. They had guys that could make that play down the field, where I don't know that Mississippi State has that guy yet. So I think the main key on defense is to keep them in off script, so to speak. Keep them, get them in 2nd and long. So that's where you keep your Tonka Hemingways and your TJ Sanders continued emergence. Pressure up the middle. and forcing those running backs to try to go wide, and let your guys, let your Stone Blanton come in, or Debo Williams come in like a missile and
blow it up.
Stone Blanton, by the way, played great last week. We didn't talk about that earlier with the youth movement. I thought he really played much better this week than he did even against Furman.
Yeah, two out of the 3 weeks he was good. From week one, he was excellent, right? And then
maybe he just needs to play good teams. I don't know.
Hey, that's fine. That's all right. For now, we'll take that.
Big game Blanton, but offensively, I would love to say they need to find balance, right? I would love to say that. LSU had balance last week. LSU ran the ball. LSU threw the ball. So I would love to say let's find balance this week. But based off of everything we've seen with Mississippi State so far, Arizona did it with Jaden Delara. LSU did it with Jaden Daniels.
Right.
They can be beat down the field. Mm-hmm. So I think that's the key. Continued big success for Leggett. You've got, like I said, last week you had Omega Blake emerge as a reliable target. Continue to get Eddie Lewis some targets. Luke Doty with the ball in his hands is excellent as well. So, you've got 4 receiving targets. I would love to see Nick Harbor get on there, but he's not there. He's not ready yet, I guess.
Apparently,
that's the only thing I can think of.
I think it might be
get the
maturity.
Got the tight ends, the football as well.
You mentioned Knox, right?
I mentioned Knox and Joshua Simon. Also, if you're hell bent on DK Joyner being your running back, let's get more designed plays in the passing game to get him the football. Get the ball in his hands in space and let him make plays. Let's do that this week a little. Let's get creative with Joyner a little bit. I'm not necessarily saying with him as the Wildcat quarterback.
I was going to ask, what do you think?
I don't want to take the ball out of Rattler's hands at this point.
It's the only good thing going. Yeah. Right.
So, but let's manufacture plays in the passing game for Joyner.
Yeah.
And
in space, he's a dude, but he just hasn't been able to get in any space.
The tackles.
No, he's running in the backs of people and falling down.
Yeah. He has no idea how to run between the tackles.
You mentioned Trey Knox, and you down on him because I think he had back-to-back games with a drop, right?
Big drop too.
Yeah, this game was big. But he did have 3 receptions for 35 yards, and he was the only guy, and this is back-to-back weeks in this anemic, disgusting run game, who was anywhere near in the green in a PFF grade. He was at 85.8 in the run game. Everybody else was like in the 50s. Last week, him in the center were the guys that were good in the run game. It seems like he's good at doing something. Keep him in line, but he needs to get the hands thing, down to a science there.
There are 32 franchises taking notice of that too, by the way.
Yeah, 100%.
So I agree. He's their number 1 tight end for sure.
Right.
No doubt.
All right. Let's talk score. Give me your prediction, and we'll wrap this up.
I think South Carolina wins this week. I think they end up putting one in late, be it maybe a field goal from Mitch Jeter late in the game to kind of put it away. I think South Carolina covers the 6.5, and they win this one 34-24.
I'm with you with a W, but I think they're gonna. Spencer Rattler's pissed off, okay, and I think that Beamer's not going to let this continually have this anemic offense. Has to have a conversation with this guy behind closed doors. There's got to be adjustments. I think that they're going to run the score up in this one. I'm not disrespecting Mississippi State, but I think they run the score up. They need to make a statement in this one. I'm going to go with 38-17. I just feel like it's a necessity at this point, and they're going against a team that's like a little bit of a wounded dog right now. Coming off last week, confidence boost is kind of down. I think they can put him in a corner, hit him with some, Rocky Balboa shots, and I think this one's going to be a statement game for him.
I hope so.
Oh, let's see. I was a little more enthusiastic about last week. It didn't work out. Well, hopefully
Well,
this
to be
one.
honest, actually though, you were more in tune with how it ended up being.
Yeah,
You thought they were going to play a closer game than what I did.
yeah.
So you were right.
Well, moral victory, right? Moral
Yeah.
victory out of it all. But we'll see what happens this week. It'll be interesting. I can't wait to talk to you next week about it. But for the Garnet Roost, CFB Nation, I'm Nino Brown. It's Brian Bosarge. Deep Fried Draft. Till next time, we out.